Good morning, fourth grade mathematicians. Today we are doing another Error Analysis Reteach lesson. Today we're going to continue our work with multiplication and division, but we're going to use variables to show unknown amounts. Do you remember what a variable is? And when do we use them? Think about that for a second. That's right. A variable is a letter we use to replace an unknown value. I'm so glad that you remember what variables are. This is going to help us so much in our work today. Let's take a look at these two pieces of student work. Which one do you agree with? Student A or student B? While you're looking at the work, I'm going to read and annotate the problem. There are 12 cars in a school parking lot, each with 4 wheels. You are trying to determine how many wheels, W, there are in total. Let's actually use T for total. It makes more sense. You are trying to determine how many wheels, T, there are in total. Write an equation to figure out how many wheels are in the parking lot. Write an equation to figure out how many wheels are in the parking lot. I'm going to put a double underline under this because normally that would be our big question. However, in this problem, this is our task. We need to write an equation. Let's look at our two pieces of student work. We have student A and student B. Which one do you agree with? It looks like most of us agree with student A, and you'd be right. That means that student B is incorrect. But I know what you're thinking. They look the same. Let's look at why student B might not be on the right track with this problem. Student B shows that there are 12 cars in the parking lot. Sure there are. It says right here in the problem. Then they multiplied by 4 because there are 4 wheels on each car. 4 wheels. They got 48, which is the total number of wheels. However, do you remember what our task was? That's right. Our task was to write an equation to figure out how many wheels are in the parking lot. It did not say solve. We need to be very careful today when looking at our problems because some of them will ask us to write an equation using a variable like student A, and some of them will say write an equation using a variable, then solve. If that had been the case, we would have combined this equation with student A with student B's solution of 48 total wheels. So in this case, because the task was write an equation to figure out how many wheels are in the parking lot using the variable T, student A is more correct than student B. What can we do to make sure that we use variables when they are needed? We can make sure that we circle any variables, just like I did here with the letter T, right here. We can make sure that we circle any variables we see in a problem and remember to use it. That means we use that variable in our equation. Then we can set up our equation with a variable first. So we don't forget it. If student A was just setting up the equation and set it up like this, then they could go back and solve if the problem told them to. Remember, don't solve unless The problem says so. Just like in our example problem today, all we had to do was write an equation using the variable. It did not say to solve. In your work today, you're going to have some problems where you need to match an equation. You're going to have some problems where you need to set up an equation, and sometimes you need to set it up and solve. Let's look at an example in our packet. For these first problems, you'll just need to match the words with the equation. A number times 6 equals n. Whenever we see the word a number times 6 equals 30. I got ahead of myself. Whenever we see a number, we can use the variable n. So this is saying a number n times 6 equals 30. Then we can look for that equation here. Did you find it? That's right. It's right there. Draw a line to match. If you have a copy of this worksheet, you can go ahead and draw the line. If you don't have a copy of it, you can type this sentence and this equation into a Google Doc to turn into your teacher, or you can take a picture of your work on paper and turn that into your teacher as well. Let's look at another problem. I'm going to skip down to number 3. There are 56 people waiting in 8 cars stopped at a stoplight. If there are an equal number of people in each car, how many people are in each car? Write an equation that Rodney may have used. Use the letter P to represent the unknown in his equation. Does this problem ask us to solve? No, it doesn't. It just says, write an equation that Rodney could use to solve, using the variable P to represent the unknown. We know that there are 56 people waiting in 8 cars. Let's write that as our total. 56 total people. Whenever we have the total, we can use either sharing or grouping division to help us solve. We know that there are 56 total people waiting in 8 cars. Does 8 represent the amount in each car or the amount of groups? The cars is like a group. So 56 total people grouped or shared or divided into 8 groups or 8 cars. The problem tells us that there is an equal number of people in each car. And to represent people, we're going to use the variable, what was it again? That's right, P. Our task was to write an equation. It was not to solve. So as long as we've set this up, we're done. Did you get it? Great work. These are your practice problems that you can do on a separate sheet of paper. If you have a printer, you can print this out, or you can type your answers into a Google Doc to submit to your teacher. You have a couple more problems, problem 2, part A and part B, to practice with. You have another one that's kind of fun. Each problem gives you a variable. When you find the solution for the variable, you get a number. Then you can fill in that variable in the code below. Let's try one. 5 times 4 is equal to E. 5 times 4 is equal to E. What is E? That's right, it's 20. Now I can go to the bottom of my page and look for 20. There it is. That's an E. Any more? That's an E too. Get the idea? Great. Have some fun with this. The last page in your packet is your exit ticket. If you can print this out, great. You can upload either a scan or a picture of it to turn into your teacher. I've also given you a Google Doc where you can fill in the answers and turn in your exit ticket. Have fun using variables today.